The morning sun streamed through the thin curtain of Victoria's small room, warming the wooden floor where her half-packed bags lay. It was a busy day ahead, and Victoria moved around quickly, folding wrappers, counting money, and checking her shopping list for the 10th time. She was a trader at the local market, known for her energy and confidence. Business had been good lately, and she wanted to restock her goods before the next market day. Lagos was the place to get everything cheaper, and she had planned this trip for weeks. Her friend Rose poked her head through the window.
Victoria,
"Are you still in the house? I thought you left."
Victoria laughed.
"My sister, I am still around to arrange my things. This journey is not going to be a small one." Rose frowned when Victoria mentioned she would take a night bus. "Why not wait till morning? You know those night journeys are not safe again." But Victoria waved her off, her face set with determination. "Come on, babe, this is not up for a discussion. I want to get to Lagos at least before afternoon early. The earlier I buy things, the faster I come back cutting expenses. Nothing will happen, so don't overthink it." As the day went by, Victoria's mother called to pray for her, her voice soft but worried. "My daughter, you will travel well. Cover yourself with God's blood. Lagos Road is not friendly." Victoria smiled, half listening, half focused on zipping her bag. She wasn't afraid because this is not her first time traveling to Lagos, even though it had been a while, and she never had once taken a night bus to Lagos, but she wanted to try it. This was something new. By evening, she sat on her bed, staring at her ticket and the money wrapped neatly in her purse. Her excitement made her heart race. She imagined herself buying new clothes, shoes, and fabric to fill her shop. Little did she know, the night ahead would change everything she believed about journeys, dreams, and warnings. That night, after finishing her packing, Victoria lay on her bed feeling both tired and excited. The ticking of her old wall clock echoed through the quiet room as she stared at the ceiling, thinking about her trip. She smiled to herself, imagining how successful she'd be when she returned from Lagos with new goods. Slowly, her eyes grew heavy, and she drifted into sleep. At first, everything felt calm. She found herself sitting inside a large lorry bus, the kind used for long journeys. The engine hummed softly, and she could feel the vibration beneath her feet. But something was strange. The bus was filled with people, yet no one moved or spoke. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide open but empty. A cold chill swept through the air, and Victoria hugged herself, shivering. She tried to call out, "Where are we going?" But her voice sounded faint, swallowed by the silence. Then the bus came to a stop. The door creaked open on its own, and she felt her heart beating fast. Darkness surrounded the road outside, and she could hear faint whispers calling her name. "Victoria! Victoria!" Her hands trembled as she stepped down from the bus. Suddenly, two tall men appeared from the shadows, their faces hidden under black hats. One of them pointed at her and shouted, "Don't let her escape." Victoria's heart jumped. She ran, her bare feet slapping against the cold ground as the men chased her through a narrow forest path. The trees seemed to close in, and the sound of footsteps grew louder behind her. She screamed, but no sound came out. Her chest tightened, her legs heavy, and as she turned to see how close they were, one man reached out and almost grabbed her. In that instant, Victoria woke up with a loud gasp, her body covered in sweat. Her heart pounded wildly as she sat up, staring into the darkness of her room. It was just a dream, she whispered to herself, trying to calm down. But deep inside, something didn't feel right. Something about that dream felt too real. The first light of morning crept into Victoria's room, waking her with a soft glow. For a moment, she sat quietly, trying to shake off the strange dream from the night before. The memory of the two men chasing her still clung to her mind like smoke that refused to clear. It was just a dream, she told herself again, but her heart didn't quite believe it. After tidying up, she decided to visit her best friend, Rose, who lived a few streets away. Rose was her closest friend, someone who always gave honest advice. As Victoria walked through the street, people greeted her, some asking when she would return from Lagos. She smiled, answering cheerfully, though deep down she felt a small heaviness she couldn't explain. Rose was outside watering her flowers when Victoria arrived. Victoria, you're up early," Rose said, wiping her hands on her wrapper. Victoria grinned. "I came to tell you I'm finally traveling to Lagos today. I'll be leaving tonight." At once, Rose's cheerful face changed. "Tonight?" she repeated, her voice full of concern. "Victoria, please don't go at night. You know how dangerous those roads are. People talk about strange things happening on night buses." Victoria laughed lightly, waving her hand dismissively. "My friend, don't start again. Nothing will happen. I can take care of myself. I'm not a child." Rose frowned, folding her arms. "Dreams are warnings, Victoria. You told me once that your mother believes that. Don't ignore signs." Victoria smiled, though she didn't tell Rose about her dream. "Rose, I'll be fine. Don't worry yourself." Rose sighed deeply and went inside. When she returned, she held a small rosary and pressed it into Victoria's hand. "At least take this," she said softly. "For protection. Pray before you go." Victoria accepted it with a smile, tucking it into her bag. "Thank you, my dear. I'll be fine. It's just a couple of days, then I am back." Then she walked home. By evening, Victoria's room was quiet again. Her bags were packed neatly by the door, and her mother had called twice to make sure everything was ready. As the sun slowly sank behind the trees, Victoria tied her scarf and took one last look around the room. Something deep inside her told her to wait till morning, but she shook off the thought. "Fear won't help me," she muttered, locking her door behind her. When she arrived at the motor park, it was alive with noise and movement. Conductors shouted destinations, vendors sold puff-puff and roasted corn, and passengers hurried to their buses. The smell of diesel filled the air as engines rumbled. Victoria showed her ticket to the conductor and climbed into the large lorry bus marked Lagos Express. Inside, she found her seat by the window and placed her small bag on her lap. The seat felt a bit rough, but she didn't mind. She glanced around at the other passengers, a tired-looking mother rocking her baby to sleep, a man in a brown suit reading a newspaper, a young student wearing headphones, and an old woman holding a rosary, whispering silent prayers. Victoria smiled politely at the woman before turning to look outside. The sky had darkened completely, painted in deep shades of blue and gray. The park lights flickered, and for a moment, the air felt strangely cold. Her mind drifted back to the dream, the silent bus, the cold, the two men. A faint uneasiness crept into her chest. "Maybe I should have waited till morning," she thought, but quickly brushed it off. "It's only a dream." By 8:30 p.m., the driver shouted, "Are everybody set? So let's go." The bus began to move slowly out of the park, headlights cutting through the night. Victoria leaned her head against the window, watching the town lights fade behind them. She whispered a quiet prayer and closed her eyes, unaware that the road ahead carried more than just darkness. By 10 p.m., the road had swallowed the city lights, and the bus rumbled steadily through the dark highway with the headlights on. The passengers had settled into quiet comfort. The mother with the baby hummed softly, the student nodded to the beat of his music, and the old woman kept her rosary close, whispering prayers that mixed with the hum of the engine. Victoria scrolled through her phone, watching short videos to keep herself awake. Every few minutes, she looked out the window, seeing nothing but endless trees and the faint glow of streetlights in the distance. The night was calm, too calm. The steady rhythm of the bus almost lulled her to sleep, but something inside refused to rest. She noticed how empty the road was, no cars ahead, none overtaking them. Only darkness and the sound of tires rolling over tar. Then she saw it, a white car driving behind them. At first, she didn't think much of it. But 30 minutes later, when she looked again, it was still there. The distance never changed. The same white headlights followed like a shadow. A shiver ran through her spine. She leaned closer to the window, trying to see the driver, but the windshield of the car was too dark. "Maybe same direction," she whispered to herself, but the thought didn't come for her. She turned to the man in the brown suit beside her. "Sir, You noticed that white car behind us? The man looked, then shrugged. Maybe they're going our way. Don't worry yourself. He adjusted his seat and went back to his newspaper. Victoria tried to relax, but her stomach tightened. She remembered her dream again. The cold, the silence, the fear. She clutched her small bag tightly, her eyes fixed on the road. Outside, the white car's headlights blinked once, then twice, before turning off suddenly. The darkness grew thicker. Victoria's heartbeat quickened. Something didn't feel right, but no one else seemed to notice. The night was still, too still, and Victoria could almost feel the danger waiting just ahead. The night had grown deeper, the kind of darkness that felt alive and heavy. Most of the passengers had fallen asleep, their heads resting against the seats. The bus hummed softly as it rolled down the lonely highway. Victoria had finally begun to doze off too, her mind drifting between dreams and the low rumble of the engine. Then, without warning, the bus began to slow down. The movement jolted everyone awake. Victoria blinked in confusion and looked around as the driver pressed the brake gently. "Driver, what's happening?" someone asked from the back. "Why are we stopping in the middle of nowhere?" The driver leaned forward, peering into the darkness ahead. "There's something on the road," he murmured. "Looks like a tree branch." A few passengers groaned, thinking it was just another delay. But Victoria's heart started to race. She felt it, the same uneasy feeling from her dream. She looked through the window and saw nothing but shadows. The air outside was still, too quiet for that hour of the night. Before anyone could react, figures emerged from the bushes, tall, masked men dressed in dark clothes, holding guns. One of them fired into the air. "Everybody down. Don't move." Screams filled the bus. Panic spread like wildfire. The mother clutched her baby tightly, crying out in fear. The man in the suit threw his hands up, trembling. The robbers climbed into the bus one after another, shouting and kicking at seats. "Bring out your phones. Money. Everything you have," one of them barked. Victoria's hands shook as she pulled her small purse from her bag. She could barely breathe. Her heart pounded so loud, she thought everyone could hear it. A man near the window tried to jump out, but before he could, a gunshot echoed. He fell instantly bruised. The bus fell silent except for sobbing and whispers of prayer. Victoria pressed her face to the seat, her body trembling. Her mind screamed the same words over and over. "This is it, the dream. It's happening." She squeezed her eyes shut, wishing she could wake up again. But this time it was no dream. Every breath Victoria took felt heavy, as if the night itself was pressing down on her chest. The robbers moved like shadows, rough, quick, and merciless. One by one, they dragged passengers out of the bus, their cries disappearing into the darkness outside. Victoria clutched her small bag tightly, whispering a silent prayer under her breath. Her heart beat so fast it hurt. She could hear the robbers shouting, demanding more money, threatening anyone who hesitated. The sound of the crying baby cut through the chaos, making everything feel more real, more cruel. Then, through the blur of fear, Victoria's eyes caught something that froze her. Two of the robbers stood near the door, their masks exactly just like she saw in her dream. Even in the dim light, she did recognize them, and they were also two men, just like in her dream. The ones who had chased her through the fog, and the ones whose faces had haunted her since that morning. Her mind went blank. For a moment, the world around her slowed down. The sound of shouting faded. The crying, the gunshots, the panic, all of it became distant, like she was underwater. How could this be happening? She thought. Wasn't it just a dream? Her stomach twisted as realization hit her. Maybe it wasn't a dream at all. Maybe it was a warning. And she had ignored it. Tears welled in her eyes, but she dared not make a sound. She lowered her head, pressing her forehead against the seat in front of her. The smell of dust and fear filled her nose. Her hands trembled as she clasped them together, whispering, "God, please don't let me die here." A robber yanked a man by his collar, dragging him out roughly. Victoria flinched, biting her lip to keep herself from screaming. In that moment, she made a silent promise to herself. If she lived through this night, she would never again ignore the voice inside her. She would never laugh off her instincts or brush away her dreams. Because tonight proved one thing: sometimes the spirit warns before the storm strikes. The night was thick with fear and silence when suddenly a distant wailing sound tore through the dark. Sirens. At first, Victoria thought her mind was playing tricks on her, but soon the noise grew louder, sharper, real. The robbers froze. For a moment no one moved. Then panic erupted among them. Police! Police are coming, one of the robbers shouted. Within seconds, they scattered into the forest like frightened animals because they had no idea how police were able to find them. Their flashlights disappeared one after another, covered by the trees. The passengers were too shocked to move, unsure if it was truly over or just another trick. Victoria sat there trembling, her fingers gripping the edge of her seat. The driver peeked out from behind the steering wheel, eyes wide with disbelief. Then came the bright glare of headlights cutting through the night. Police trucks. They screeched to a stop, and armed officers poured out, shouting commands, flashlights dancing over the terrified faces inside the bus. "It's okay. You're safe now," one of the officers called out. The words felt like a heavy weight lifting off Victoria's chest. Some passengers began crying. Others hugged each other tightly as they didn't know they would survive through the night. Victoria could barely move. Her body felt weak, her heart still racing. A young officer approached her, gently wrapping a warm blanket around her shoulders. "You're lucky to be alive, madam," he said softly. "We got an anonymous tip about an ambush planned on this route. We came as fast as we could." Victoria blinked in confusion. "Anonymous tip?" she whispered. "Who could have known?" The officer nodded. "Whoever called probably saved all of you." As the police helped the injured and gathered belongings, Victoria sat in silence, her eyes staring into the dark forest where the robbers had vanished. Her mind replayed the dream: the forest, the men, the chase. A cold shiver ran through her. Was the warning in her dream not just from her mind, but from something greater? She held the rosary Rose had given her and whispered a quiet prayer of thanks. That night, she finally understood: some dreams are not meant to be ignored. The sun rose slowly at the police station courtyard. The once lively travelers now sat in silence, wrapped in thin blankets, their faces tired and hollow. The night's horror still clung to the air like smoke that refused to fade. Victoria sat on a wooden bench near the entrance, her eyes fixed on her trembling hands. The skin around her nails was bruised from how tightly she had clutched the seat during the robbery. Her bag was gone, her phone too. Everything she had worked for vanished in a few violent minutes. But she was alive. That was what mattered, or so she kept telling herself, though her heart still felt heavy with disbelief. A police officer walked past, handing out cups of tea to calm everyone down. Victoria took hers with shaky fingers, the steam brushing her face. Across from her, the young mother who had sat beside her on the bus wept quietly, her baby clinging to her chest. The man in the suit kept pacing, muttering prayers under his breath. Everyone was alive, but broken in their own way. As Victoria sipped the lukewarm tea, her thoughts drifted back to Rose. Her warning echoed in her head: "Please, don't go at night. Too many strange things happen on those roads." She had brushed it off with laughter, but now it sounded like a prophecy. Victoria bowed her head and whispered a silent prayer, tears slipping down her cheeks. "Thank you, God, for giving me another chance." Outside, the first buses of the morning rumbled past the station. Life was moving on, as if nothing had happened. But Victoria knew she would never be the same again. 2 days later, Victoria returned home. Her body still ached from the long ride back, but it was her heart that carried the heaviest weight. As she stepped into her small apartment, the quietness wrapped around her like a familiar friend. Everything looked the same: the half-folded clothes on the chair, the kettle on the table, yet she felt like a different person. The first thing that happened was a knock on her door. She opened it, and it was Rose. In tears, Victoria hugged her. Victoria's eyes were swollen, her face pale, and her once lively voice trembled when she spoke. Before she could say a word, Rose pulled her hands and held her. "I thought I lost you," Rose whispered, her own eyes glistening. Victoria broke down completely. She cried against her friend's shoulder, letting out all the fear she had held inside since that terrible night. When she could finally speak, she told Rose everything, from the dream, to the white car, to the gunshots in the dark. Rose listened in silence, holding her hand the entire time. "You were right, Rose," Victoria said through tears. "I should have listened. I saw all the signs, but I ignored them."
Rose sighed deeply.
"What matters now is that you're alive. God gave you another chance." Her mother, too, came by to check up on her. In the days that followed, Victoria became a different person. She shared her story with everyone who cared to listen, in the markets and in church as her testimony. "Never travel by night if you can help it," she would say. "Sometimes your dream is the only warning you'll ever get." That night, back in her bed, Victoria lay staring at the ceiling. The memories still haunted her, but so did gratitude. She closed her eyes, whispered a prayer of thanks, and smiled faintly. "Some roads," she murmured softly, "are better seen by daylight." Outside, the night stretched endlessly, quiet and deep, but Victoria finally slept without fear. Always trust your instincts, heed warnings, and respect the signs life gives you, whether through dreams, advice from loved ones, or intuition. Safety and wisdom often lie in caution, and ignoring these can lead to unnecessary danger. Some journeys are better undertaken with care and during the right time. In Victoria's case, her near-death experience teaches the importance of listening to both inner guidance and the advice of those who care about you. It also reminds us that life is more valuable than material gains. Dear viewers, what do you think about this story? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and share it with friends. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks, and see you in the next video.
Bye.